And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Monday, December 17th. I'm the host for today's program, Paul Demain. And many of the stories right here can also be found at our website, IndianCountryNews.com. And here are some of those stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The drums of First Nations people are pounding again in Canada as Attawapiskat Chief Teresa Spence continues her hunger strike against Canadian legislation she says impacts the treaty relationship, and the price to pay would get higher if anything would happen to her, the head of Manitoba's largest Chiefs organization says. Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs Grand Chief Derek Nipinak issued the statement December 16th. The same day, Assembly of First Nations National Chief Sean Atleo released an open letter calling on Prime Minister Stephen Harper and Governor General David Johnston to agree on Spence's demand and meet with First Nations leaders to discuss the treaties. Bill C-45, which has passed proposed changes to management and leasing of reserved lands in Canada, and Canadian First Nations are also concerned about changes to environmental protections in the Act. Members of the Stoney Nakoda First Nation in Morley also exercised a peaceful protest the afternoon of December 16th when about 200 people blocked one lane of the Trans-Canadian Highway, joining other First Nations to protest the federal government's Bill C-45. Spence was into her sixth day of a hunger strike this weekend, and she's spending her days and nights in a teepee on Victoria Island, which sits in the Ottawa River and in the shadow of the Supreme Court of Canada and Parliament Hill. Temperatures in Ottawa hovered between -6 and -10 degrees Celsius over the weekend. Spence says she won't end her hunger strike until Harper and Johnston, as the representative of Queen Elizabeth II, meet with First Nation leaders to discuss the treaty relationship and obligations. Conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh was very clear about his comments directed to Massachusetts Senator-elect Warren last week when he repeated calling her an Indian giver. Limbaugh was directing his opinion at a group of Democratic senators that wrote a letter to Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid of Nevada, hoping to delay a medical device tax that was part of President Barack Obama's Affordable Health Care Act, saying by saying, Elizabeth Warren, for example, she gave her wholehearted approval to Obamacare. Now she's one of the senators that wants to take it back. She's an Indian giver. He paused, then added, yes, I intended to say that. Elizabeth Warren, Heap big Squaw Indian giver. Warren's Republican opponent, Senator Scott Brown, brought up Warren's alleged Native American heritage during last year's campaign, and a video emerged mocking Warren's heritage where his staff was shouting war whoops and doing the tomahawk chop.
And so suddenly all these Democrats now want waivers from Obamacare, and they want funding mechanisms wiped out of the legislation. Elizabeth Warren, for example, she gave her wholehearted approval to Obamacare, and now she is one of the senators that wants to take that back. And she's an Indian giver. Yes, I intended to say that, Snurdly. Elizabeth Warren, Heap big Squaw Indian giver.
This year, 7,000 Cherokee students will stay warm, snuggled under new coats purchased with the Cherokee Nation's Clothing for Kids vouchers. The Cherokee Nation Tribal Council added $300,000 to the coat voucher program last December, bringing the total budget to $900,000. In addition to helping parents of qualified Cherokee children buy new school clothes, the increase was also to help them buy winter coats. During November, about 4,500 coat vouchers were distributed in the tribe's 14-county jurisdiction. The vouchers were for $45 per child. We still have the potential to hand out an additional 2,600 winter coat vouchers before the end of the month, said Kara Whitworth, director of the Office of Child Support Services, who helps run the voucher program. Students eligible for the 2012 fall clothing vouchers who have yet to pick up coat vouchers can do so before December 28th. The Red Lake Band of Ojibwe in northern Minnesota are getting more than $21 million in federal development loans. Minnesota Public Radio News reports the tribe will use some of the money from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Development Program to build a 42,000 square foot tribal college. The new building will have more classroom space than the older facility and will have room for technology equipment as well. USDA spokesman Adam Checks said the tribe also plans to build a tribal government center. The older government buildings have mold and other health issues. The projects are expected to create jobs on the reservation, and the tribe will repay the low-interest loan over 40 years. Years after northern Arizona ski resorts submitted plans to make snow and boost businesses, a pipeline is ready to carry treated wastewater to a mountain that American Indian traditionalists consider sacred and has been a popular recreation spot. For the owners of the Arizona Snow Bowl, the option to use snowmaking equipment means it no longer will be at the mercy of the weather and can assure that the skiing and snowboarding season won't be cut short. From the start, local American Indian tribes and individuals were against the plan. They first argued that it would violate their religious rights, then that the reclaimed wastewater treatment water would make people sick. Courts have upheld the U.S. Forest Service's decision allowing the renovations, though a challenge on the impacts to an endangered plant that lives at the highest elevation of the San Francisco Peaks awaits a ruling. Descendants of slaves once owned by members of the Cherokee Nation say they look forward to having a court consider their attempt to reclaim membership in the tribe. The Federal Appeals Court said December 14th the Cherokee Freedmen can sue the current chief for the restoration of full tribal rights. Plaintiff Marilyn Vance says she believes a judge will order the Cherokee to restore rights to 2,800 descendants of former slaves. The Freedmen claim they were promised citizenship under the Treaty of 1866. A Cherokee spokesman said that in order to be a citizen of that tribe, a person must have Indian blood. The court upheld the Cherokee Nation statutes as a sovereign entity, but said the Freedmen can sue the chief in an effort to reclaim their membership. And the checks are not only in the mail, they are in the mailbox, as thousands of Cobell settlement recipients happily are on the receiving end only a week before the big holiday deal called Christmas. Happy holidays, and feel free to share any of the wealth with someone else close to you. And that's another roundup of news from Indian Country. On this edition of the Native News Update, we want to say miigwech for joining with us, and come back again soon.